Hey, I'm Paeter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. Welcome to Essential Issues Weekly, where I talk about DC Comics 1 week after their release on the Ultra tier of the DC Universe Infinite subscription service. In each installment, I pick an assortment of comics to talk about as a DC fan, while also exploring what, if anything, they have to say about the essential issues of real life. Now, warning, full spoilers for everything I talk about, so be aware. This is your first and only warning that many spoilers lie ahead. Right now, we're going to take a look at comics originally released to the Ultra tier on September 5th, 2023. I really didn't enjoy much of anything that I read this week, unfortunately. The first that there was Night Terrors number 3, and then a couple of one-shots for Flash and Green Lantern that I read, but I don't really have any comments on them. I didn't find them very interesting. It's all stuff taking place mostly in nightmares of characters, and so it doesn't have lasting impact on their lives or the DC universe. I just want to skip to the end. Is Wesley Dodds coming back or not? Let me know, and then we'll pick it up from there. Anyway, Superman Annual for 2023 came out on August 8th, 2023, and this slightly touches on multiple story setups from the past in this current writer's arc of the Superman monthly title. So you've got Marilyn Moonlight that shows up, Supercorp, Lex Luthor's superheroic past that's slowly being revealed, Red Cloud. It's kind of like a sampler platter of like, hey, if you've missed some of the stories, here's what's been going on in Superman lately. Jimmy Olsen's relationship with Silver Banshee is at least referenced. Parasite is a significant part of this story. He's now harmless and working at Supercorp with a big jolly smile on his face. This whole issue is just way too light and humorous. Even more so, I remember that being a little bit the case in recent issues of Superman, but this really seemed to dial the tone up in terms of its frivolity and lightness, and really, as a result, lack of felt stakes and significance and weightiness to anything that's going on. But it does have at least one intriguing reveal. The villains who have an axe to grind with Lex Luthor and have been behind the scenes working against him, that Lex is trying to get Superman to partner with him against this, in his mind, looming threat that is a big concern and ought to be a concern to Superman and Metropolis. Well, these guys, they're like mad scientist type. That's kind of like the theme that brings them together, and they have apparently captured Lobo, and in this issue, acquire a drop of his blood. Now, that's significant because, at least as far as I remember, Zarnians, if that's how you pronounce it, Lobo, his race is Czarnians. I can't remember what they said I think it's Zarnian they said in the animated series way back in the day. Anyway, they can apparently regenerate themselves from a single drop. If they get completely destroyed, burnt up, nearly incinerated, but there's one viable drop of their blood left, they can regenerate from that. So, Wolverine has nothing on Lobo. So they've captured him and managed to extract a drop of blood. We don't see where that's going to go, but that seemed pretty significant to me. Meanwhile, Brainiac then is shown elsewhere in another scene to apparently have a bottled city from Zarnia. And Lobo is supposed to be the last Zarnian, the last son of Zarnia, he kind of says in this issue, because I guess there's a daughter of his. I don't know the backstory of that. I remember her appearing in the Titans book, and it did not interest me, that concept, at all. Much prefer that he be the only one. Kind of like Superman. Kind of wish he was the only one. Anyway, but Brainiac, I guess, is going to leverage this miniaturized city from Zarnia, presumably full of Zarnians, these crazy, powerful, unkillable aliens, gonna in some way leverage them for his own purposes. So that was a pretty striking reveal. There's a few interesting ideas and premises in this issue, but I'm just put off by the lightness, the light as a feather tone of nearly every page. So I don't know. I'll probably go back to the next issue of Superman when it comes out. But if this is an indication of where the tone is going forward, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hang on much or any longer. Next up would be World's Finest Teen Titans number 2. I think I remember liking the first issue here, but I don't know if the art was the same or if they've changed the artist. Both the cover art and the interior art have this low detail, simplistic kind of vibe that is just does not connect with my particular tastes. And the story wasn't very interesting to me, but one scene stood out thematically that I definitely wanted to comment on. In this scene, Aqualad is approaching a girl whose nightmares are manifesting in the real world, and she is understandably distraught, thinking of herself as a monster, and Aqualad is trying to kind of talk her down from this experience in which she is, kind of beyond her control, generating all these horrible nightmare creatures. And he says, my mother was kind about it, but I felt like a hideous monstrosity. He had some different things about him that made him unique and kind of an outcast in Atlantean society, for those not familiar with Aqualad's character. And so anyway, he said, I felt like a hideous monstrosity, like everyone was calling me that, until one day, in all that name-calling, I asked myself whose voice was loudest. And he says, it was mine. And he goes on and says, and maybe I couldn't control what other people said to me, but I could control what I said. So I started telling myself I was worthwhile. It sounded fake at first. It was hard, but I kept at it. I really had to work at it. I still do sometimes, but it helped a lot. Is that something you'd like to try? And she kind of really hesitantly says, I guess so. And he very kindly says, would you like some help? And she says yes. And so it's this kind of moving scene about a girl who is just feeling beaten down by the world and misunderstood and judged by people. This is a very resonant theme, I think, with our culture today. And one thing that I appreciate about this, that I can call good, is Aqualad recognizing when your own thoughts are influencing you away from truth, and how we can kind of get up inside of our own heads too much. And that actually is, there's a form, it's not mentioned here, but that is a form of pride. Even though we think of insecurity as the opposite of pride, it's still this intense self-focus. And we wouldn't be feeling a lot of that insecurity if we weren't so stuck on an inward focus in which we're constantly taking our own temperature and asking, how do I feel? How do people feel about me? Those kinds of things. Of course, a measure of that is healthy and valuable to understand how people are seeing you and reacting to you. But it's easy to get caught up in finding your self-worth and your self-image in what other people think of you. Anyway, so yeah, seeing how your own thoughts can influence you away from the truth, reminding yourself that you are worthwhile. I'm glad that he didn't use the word worthy. Sometimes people will say, you are worthy. Well, worthy of what? How do you know? Worthwhile or valuable, maybe, is what he's getting at here, I think, is something that can be said of everyone, that everyone is worthwhile, everyone is valuable. Where this issue falls short for me philosophically is that there's no objective basis provided for this girl having value, for Aqualad telling himself that he's worthwhile and has value. Without having that objective basis provided, then for all we can tell, these characters are just telling themselves things that they want to hear that aren't necessarily true. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of people are at today. They're just kind of telling themselves, maybe from a mental health point of view, they recognize I need to say good things about myself and think good things about myself in order to help my current mental health and my outlook on things. And there's truth to that, but what if the things that you're saying about yourself are not true? They're not actually based in reality. And so it's really important, both just for the sake of truth and also for the long run, that the things that we tell ourselves to correct ourselves from corruptive, negative thinking are actually based in objective truth. Objective human value is rooted in being image bearers of God and being valued so much by God that he chose to live and die this horrible death as one of us so that we could be with him forever. I mean, I don't know how God could communicate more strongly how much he values us as humans. And beyond that, we just have a lot of opinions being expressed about, like, well, we just kind of telling ourselves things. So I think that these things that we tell ourselves to correct our thinking, to get ourselves out of kind of depressive slumps and modes that we're in, that's really important. It's actually very biblical to speak truth to ourselves and to each other to help get us out of those kinds of harmful ways of thinking. But we need to speak truth, not just good-sounding things or things that make us feel good. So some really good stuff here, but it's missing, I think, a really key element in order for us to be able to effectively apply it to our own lives. Anyway, those are all of my thoughts on comic books for now, such as they are. I, as always, would love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Remember to check out christiangeekcentral.com for tons more content. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Hey guys, Paeter Franson here. Want to play games to save lives? Then join me again this year for Game Save, our annual charity fundraising event in support of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, whose compassionate care and cutting-edge research has been saving the lives of children all over the world for decades. Joining the Game Save team only requires a willingness to ask friends and family to consider donating toward your fundraising efforts. Team members also usually do something fun and game-related to draw attention to their fundraising, like a special game night at your home or church, or like me, you can do a crazy 24-hour video game marathon. Now, I'm theming my fundraising around video games, but you can also use tabletop games if you want. What you do to raise funds is entirely up to you, but by joining the Game Save team, you can get support and encouragement from myself and other team members and have more attention drawn to your fundraising efforts. You can get more information about the origins and heart behind Game Save itself at gamesave.christiangeekcentral.com. To join the team, make an account at tiltify.com, then click on the link below and click Support Campaign. After that, follow the instructions to create your own personal campaign in support of the CGC Team Campaign. To help your donors avoid confusion, I recommend using your name and the phrase CGC Game Save 23 as the name of your individual campaign. After that, as team leader beginning in October, I provide team members with weekly tips and resources to make your fundraising as fun, easy, and effective as possible. October is going to be our main push for fundraising, capping things off with my annual 24-hour video gaming live stream on November 4th, although you are welcome to continue fundraising until the end of November 30th, when our official final total will be tallied. If you have any questions before or after signing up, you can reach me anytime at paeter@spiritblade.com. I'm happy to help, and I hope that you'll consider being a part of this with me. I can't wait to get started. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.